Welcome to the NBTLT podcast with your guides to this magical journey, Lon and Zumi.
Welcome back to the Nothing Better to Listen To podcast, the podcast where men are men and women don't vote. We we are joined here today by our very first inaugural guest, Sir
Yay.
Jag. How you doing, Jag?
I'm doing great. I'm proud and honored to be numero uno.
Yeah, you're technically popping our cherry. You know that, right?
You know, I like popping people's cherry. Listen, we're just getting started. By the end of this podcast, it could get a lot worse.
I know.
That's okay with me.
And you know, I told the audience last week that our guest was just gonna be. It was just related to sex. I didn't really tell them what you do. So a lot of them are, I guess, itching to know what's up.
Oh yes, I've had tons of questions already.
Sex is certainly part of it, and I am into BDSM, which is basically bondage and sadomasochism and things like that. A lot of different plays. I like knife play a lot, which scares people. It's kind of one of those fear type of plays. Knives, needles, fire, big in fire. I have a whole production show on fire. I'll tell you about that a little later. But we're getting ready to do a big show in Idaho, 1,000-seat club, and but we'll get into that later. Also, ropes. And
Gotta have ropes.
Yeah, and the master-slave relationship. I love the dynamic. It's what's called total power exchange, where you're a master and the other person is a slave to the master in a consensual kind of contract thing. And
Of course.
Yes, and it's,
I think there's a word for if there's no contract for that.
There might be.
well, there are people that write master-slave contracts.
They do.
Yeah, you can find contracts online.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Where do you get the notary for that?
Yeah, well, you have to go to any bank notary.
It's awesome.
But and luckily most notaries don't read what they're signing because they're more interested in it's your signature versus what's on the paper.
For sure.
But there are people that do actual contracts, written contracts. Personally, not a big fan. It's I think there's a little bit of risk in that, the sexuality that comes into it. Since you were teasing people on sex, is it's somewhere between on the scale of fucking awesome. Can I say that on this show?
Oh yeah.
Fuck yes.
Say whatever the fuck you want, dude.
Fucking awesome and out of this fucking world. So that's your scale from low to high end. It's just amazing the intensity that sex brings with the power exchange on both sides.
Now, I got a question. How did you get into this whole thing? How did you start? How did you just wake up one day and decided you know what, I'm into this shit and I'm gonna just explore it?
I started tying up girlfriends, tying them to the bed at about the age of 17, 18, shortly after starting to have sex. And I decided that it was really cool to immobilize someone, and it really got me off. And so I started tying up girlfriends and putting a little ice on them and then dripping candles. And, it's kind of like a snowball. After you read some and you do some and, it's one of those things where, okay, I've accomplished that and that's kind of boring now. Let's go on to the next thing. Let's go on. And you kind of roll through the different things that you want to do. And I ended up I ended up where I'm at now. This sick puppy that likes knives, needles, and fire. And those are pretty much called edge play within the lifestyle. And you know, you have to be very careful with them and use caution and you know, and just make sure that you know what you're doing before you do it. You know, you just don't go out there and start setting people on fire or sticking needles in them.
Well, I did have a question about this,
Yeah.
and you know, a lot of people have different types of lifestyles, and a lot of people have different types of, you know, likes and dislikes and everything. But I find that with all of these, you know, this large variety that people have, you know, everybody has, you know, some sort of benefit that they draw from it. You
Yep.
know, whether it be, you know, just emotional or, you know, physical or something like that. But what would you feel is the beneficial part of partaking in all of this
Oh, you
for
know,
you personally?
it depends on the people involved, but for me personally, I love total power exchange. I love that uh, what's called dominant submissive relationship, and I love training. I have a very intricate training program that lasts about 6 months when I'm training someone to be a slave, and it's all written in books. I mean, it's a binder. It's like a 3-inch binder of everything that has to be completed over that period.
Wow, you
So
guys got
it's
like a syllabus. That's awesome.
oh yeah, yeah. No, there's a lot of stuff I go through, and I go through a lot of connecting body, mind, and soul, and you know, because people sometimes get disconnected in that. And I've got a background in marriage and family therapy, and I love hypnosis in my total power exchange training. It makes it takes the word erotic to whole new levels.
Oh, I'm sure.
Um, I mean, people become something they never knew they were, and just animalistic, just raw animalistic that they just never knew things they could do or feel the way they feel. But
Wow.
uh, so it just yeah, there's a lot to it. You know that my thing is I love the training. I love the training, and I love the emotional aspect as well as the physical aspect of that relationship. And I, you know, my credo has always been leave someone better than you found them. And because I'm married, and my wife and I are polyamorous and see different people, it's really it's important for the outside person to know that they're secondary, that the primary relationship is always my spouse and I. And so there can be a limited time on this training and the master slave thing. But I always my credo has been leave somebody better than I found them, you know. And so many people get the wrong idea of like 50 Shades of Gray and like it's kind of hot and sexy and all that crap. But you know, I don't punish. I don't, you know, that there's some people that love that stuff. Like their whole life is the submissive being a brat so that she gets punished because she loves getting beat or this or that, whatever it is, getting punished, sat in the corner, whatever. So, but the way I am not, I'm not into that. I'm not into brats. I'm not into training brats. I like women who voluntarily submit and want to be controlled, and sometimes controlled completely in everything. Can be eating and clothing and time schedules, and you know, it just depends on the person what they're looking for, how much control they're looking for.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up 50 Shades of Grey because it was actually a question that I was asked by one of our audience, you know, and you know, the question was is how do you feel about that book or the movie or whatever, you know, and how, does that portray a reality at all?
Not most of the time. I mean, it might portray somebody's, but for the most part, it does not portray a reality. The book, and the movie was horrible. I mean, it was so bad. I was watching it at my house, and I was screaming at the TV, and I literally had to turn the movie off. On It took me 4 different times to finally get through it. I had to actually leave. I mean, it was so poorly written, so poorly acted, and so inaccurate, and so I mean, it was such crap that I just couldn't take it. I mean,
That's
it's nothing like that.
this is something that that Zumi and I, or Robert and I, we argue on continually on this podcast is, whether movies suck or not. And I heard people say that they hated that book, let alone going to the movie and going to watch it, which as far as I know, got terrible reviews. And then they went and made another one, but I think that's about as realistic to that world as you would say Lord of the Rings is to medieval times.
Right. Yeah. You know what? That's a great analogy. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it would be reality.
Nah, there are people that in a master slave and polyamorous relationship that will go years as a family, where they'll live together and be a whole family, a communal family. And even though most of America would frown on that, there are communities of people that do do it very well. And it wouldn't work for me. I'm just not communal enough. But for some people it works wonderful, and so it's what's called a leather family. And
Leather family.
And, yeah. And leather came from the old leather term. It was back when people came home from like World War II, and it was kind of picked up by the gays, and the whole leather lifestyle started as kind of a gay thing, and then it spread out to the heterosexual community.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So now I just want you to like clear something up to like the people are, because obviously this is a kind of like a realm that's seen as taboo, and you coming at from MFT background, like what would you say to somebody who's like wants to explore this but feels like like the stereotypical thing that they have about like, oh, that's from like the fucking devil, that's devil worship type thing, you're a sick puppy if you like even think or consider adapting this lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, it only works for a small portion of the people. And larger urban areas obviously have larger populations where it exists. Smaller places, it's very difficult and can be very cliquish. So, the people that say, "Oh, it's taboo and I can't do that, and it's wrong and it's sick and it's the Antichrist," I would say, go find something more your style to do, snow skiing or whatever. Go snow ski, snowflake. But
Direct translation over, yeah.
yeah, right. It's it's scary for most people when they get it. And it's interesting. I've been in the lifestyle now 38 years. About 20 plus years of that has been very public, where I have given classes in places like Denver and San Francisco and Florida and other places, and done fire shows and things. And I lost my train of thought, but what the hell was I talking about?
This happens to us all the time, so don't worry about it.
Right.
We'll just chase another squirrel. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So after being in the lifestyle, it's interesting to see there are people that get in it at 18, 19 years old. And I mean, the balls it takes especially from a submissive female side. By the way, there are a lot more submissive men and dominant women.
Well,
Dominant is the term. So there is a plethora of dominant women and submissive men.
I guess it would make sense though, just because of society in general, and the way that, you have men treated as opposed to how women are treated traditionally. And then, going into that type of lifestyle.
Like a fantasy role,
Yeah.
So these guys that are CEOs and big guys they can give up control. But, there's no shortage on the male dominant female submissive side, there's no shortage of people either. And it's interesting to see people in their 18, 20-year-old, 22-year-old getting into this stuff. I'm just fascinated how they found it so quickly and are so enamored with rope. Is huge, especially certain areas in the country. Younger people get into rope, and that's how I got into it too. I started tying people up, so it seems to be like a big entry level kind of thing. It's the thrill of being bound and not being able to move. Is it's kind of that whole rape fantasy thing. It's a part of it. It's not not the rape itself, but it's the part of being tied up and immobile. For some people, they just love the feel of the ropes on their skin. It really gets their endorphins going. For other people, it's being suspended. And there are some people in this country that just do amazing, amazing rope work.
So I mean, I know I'm like, but fucking A, like, where do you find these people?
You go to vetlife.com.
Oh
There's a
shit!
website.
You guys got a site.
That's where about 20 to 30 million of us hang out worldwide.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So this is not like one of those like stupid webpage like
No.
like Match.com where you ended up like talking to a girl and you think like, oh shit, like she's into me, and then all of a sudden like, oh sweetie, I need your credit card so you can see me naked.
Well, that can happen, but they're real good about weeding that stuff out. It is a real site where real people find places, because there's clubs, plenty of clubs, especially if someone's in a big urban area.
Right.
Like San Francisco's got a great club, and LA's got several, and Dallas and Atlanta and Florida have several great clubs. A lot of big rope people hang out in Florida. And I could name clubs, but if somebody goes on to FetLife, all the clubs and the groups and everything are on there. And you just start a page. Like my handle is on Fed is Vulpine Dragon Jag. Vulpine like the fox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and you just start talking to people and finding out where they are and meet them. And I don't advise meeting somebody that you don't know for the first time in anything but a anything but a public place. For safety, and you don't just like somebody doesn't say, oh yeah, I'm going to tie you up and you go home with them. You don't, it's just not, that's not a wise thing to do.
Yeah, but I mean, you would kind of have like the same rules for any type of, dating site or, meetup or anything like that. You always want to keep that safe and stay around other people,
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think the same rules apply.
I have always had a rule of thumb that when I meet somebody, I meet them publicly, and if I find somebody that I want to play with, I will swap driver's licenses with them, and tell them to send the driver's license to a friend of theirs, and that way it's a safety thing where, if someone's not willing to give up their driver's license, real name, where they live, that kind of stuff, then there's a problem. Granted, people are worried about being outed at work, or maybe they've got morals clauses in their contract or whatever. But the fact is, for safety's sake, it's more important that somebody knows what you're doing and where you're at. But the best way to start out is go to a club, and all big cities have plenty of clubs. Small cities do too. They're just harder to find in small cities.
Well, I'm sure there's one here, where I'm at. I think you're pretty close to me, but I'm in Spokane Valley. But I'm sure that there's stuff out here. I just, I don't even know where, most of the, just like normal, like everyday clubs are. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a group out there that does stuff. And a lot of times in small places, groups will get together and just play at somebody's house. Yeah. Spokane may be one of those kind of bedroom community type things where it's that way. The bigger cities, if you go across the state to Seattle, they've got 3 massive clubs there.
Oh, I'm sure Seattle's got, tons of stuff regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel bad for them though, because they do have the Seahawks, so.
Yeah.
So what would you
I
say?
won't get started on politics, but they also have that.
Yeah, yeah.
So Jack, what would you say would be like your average like person that goes there? I mean, is there a special type of person that
There's
actually goes, or it's just like across the board? Like,
it's just like walking into any nightclub and looking at all the different people there. There is no, it's all over the place, and people are getting introduced to it every day, and I think it's becoming. I won't say it's becoming mainstream, but people are becoming more accepting as they find out about it, um, and especially in a community like Seattle. Because they're a pretty progressive community as far as sexuality and stuff with sexuality. Some people do BDSM and sex isn't involved at all. They don't believe in mixing the two. Yeah, so it just depends. I'm not one of those. I happen to love the sexuality part of it, but everybody's got. There is so many diverse types of relationships, and there's no way to pigeonhole anyone. There's man, it's everywhere. It's just like going anywhere in society into any group. There's usually more diversity within the group than diversity between groups. I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase, but it's
Oh yeah, makes
yeah, it makes
sense.
sense. Yeah.
you know, there's the diversity is within the group. There's so many different types of people and different types of things that they like to do. So and I know everybody gets pigeonholed. So, and I'm kind of a Marquis de Sade kind of guy.
I'd say so.
I'm,
I
I'm
you know it's kind of funny, but I mean he's I don't think a lot of people like know that the term sadist came from the Marquis de Sade, and
yeah,
they don't really know like that like his writings style that was essentially used as a metaphor for like criticizing the political regimen that was there in France during that time. So, uh, but I'm assuming then if you know the Sod, you've seen like movies like Solo.
I haven't. I'd really like to see that movie, but I haven't. It's
I
just getting busy, and I've heard it's wonderful.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I'll confess this. I've seen it 4 times, and it's a really well-made movie. And I mean, like I said, it does work as a metaphor towards like the crimes that the Nazis did.
Mhm.
But if you just look, if you don't focus on like the metaphors and you actually focus on like the BDSM portion of it, the sexual portion of it, it's actually, I mean, it to be honest, it made me feel as a sick puppy towards the end because I was like, man, like, I mean, that's fucked up, but fuck, like, I wish I would grab a girl like that.
I haven't seen it. I'm too scared. He keeps suggesting it, and
Well,
I
now I'll have to go find it and see it.
No, I highly recommend it. I mean, shit, if making a movie gets a director stabbed to death, and I mean, it must be worth watching at least once in your life, right?
Yeah,
sure.
right.
Well, I do have a question. With the shows that you do, you have the fire play, you have like you say the knife play and all that. You also have these, the personal interactions that you have with people. I mean, what's the like, if you don't mind sharing, like, what's the craziest or most intense thing that anybody's ever asked to do? Like, can you think of something that's like you're like, oh, I guess we could do that. Like I might have to prep for it, but you know.
I've never had anything that I had to prep for. Gosh, man, that's quite a question. I must really be like jaded because as I look at as I talk to you, I'm thinking, man, there's nothing I've ever said that wow, I have to prep for that. And that's a problem, I think.
Nah. No, that just means you're awesome.
I do know. I do know the I do, and I haven't done them in a while. Because they're really really intense and hard. I do takedowns and in torture interrogation scenes.
Whoa.
Wow.
Like
Yeah,
you
and
are you like waterboarding somebody?
well, worse. I mean, it's like pure terror, and it's like breaking them down to a point where if you can get them all the way broken down, it's like it's talking them, well, if your life is this bad, or if this is happening, why don't we just go ahead and end it for you? I mean, that kind of it's really long scenes. Like the longest one I've done is probably about 4 or 5 hours. And
Holy
Wow.
it I don't know that I want to get publicly into all the stuff I did, but it was really, really intense. It was a person who had been abused and kind of used as doormat, was in a really bad, this is kind of the black end of the relationship, was in a DS relationship, dominant submissive relationship, but it wasn't truly that. It was really abusive, where he would lock her in a closet, and that's not. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Wow.
Yeah, and she had really bad relationships with her kids, and kids weren't talking to her. And I mean, there was a lot in her life that was wrong. And
no.
Okay. So
When,
this is
when
like
you
breaking down to build
yeah,
back up type of thing.
yeah,
Like to show
yeah,
you it's like, okay, that happened. Now
yeah.
let's start to build it back up and so you can work through all this stuff.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it got to a point where I had her, write suicide note, and I handed her obviously a blank gun with the firing pin taken out, but made her write a suicide note and handed it to her, and that was the point for her, the breaking point for her, that she realized she wanted to live and changed her whole life around.
whoa.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. I mean,
And
she
no,
got her
that's
relationship with her kids. She got back in touch with all of her kids and all of her relationships. She corrected those relationships. She found a nice guy that treated her well, and just basically started a whole new life and left her old life behind. But it was, I got to tell you, it was really intense, really intense.
Well, I really love that we're getting into this because I feel like there's a lot of bad, stereotypes that go along with some of these, like the lifestyle,
Yeah.
and I feel like this, you're helping people see that this can actually be good for someone to get out, to get through some of this stuff, and from what you say, I mean, some of these events are pretty therapeutic for people.
Sometimes they are, and some people, the pain for, just like I'm a sadist, there are masochists out there, and the pain is what gets them off. That's what it just releases all of their stress and tension and everything going on in their life. It's very interesting. I don't always understand it fully, but I will comply because I get my rocks off on that. And as long as it's a good thing for them and comes out good. And we people that do this and do it correctly also spend a lot of time in what's called aftercare. So you spend time with the person, you help them come back from whatever it is that was done. There's something called subspace where people will go into a somewhat semi like shocky type of thing, and you have to help them back out of that, and be very compassionate during that period of time. Like the interrogation scene, the time after the scene that I spent with her like 4 or 5 hours after the whole interrogation, and then every day, I would call her and talk to her every day for a month, and then I checked in at 6 months and checked in at a year. I just always made sure that she was still on track, and she was. She changed her whole life around. But it's not just the act of the sadomasochism. It's what comes afterwards in making sure that what you've done hasn't caused harm to someone.
Absolutely, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I mean, how much like how much of those do you usually get? Like
Oh, I haven't done them. I don't do those much anymore because it takes a lot out of you. There's my prep time on a scene like that is about 4 hours. I find out their whole family history. I have a 17-page checklist that I go through, and I find out everything about them so that when I start to break them down, I can use everything they didn't tell me because I already know what there is. So I'm
okay.
looking for what they forgot to tell. So, but it's a long process, and um, it's a long process before, and then of course the scene is very intense, and then a long process afterwards. Um, so I just don't do them. I mean, I guess if somebody asked under the right circumstance, I might, but it's probably been at least 5 years since I've done one, and I used to do a
Oh,
few a year. I mean, it's not something I did a lot of, but it was enjoyable while I was doing them. But you get to a point in time in your life where it's just a lot of work to do that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it takes a lot out of you. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
you were like when we were going through our certification together, you were talking about something really interesting, and that was that uh, you had that the fire show and you had the knife show, but there was also a legal aspect that was that you had to uh, take care of. You
Yeah.
mind sharing? Like that was I thought that was fucking hilarious.
Well, I live in Idaho, and in Idaho, our laws are still pretty strict as far as any kind of nudity in public. And when I do fire, and usually do it on naked bodies, is the safest way to do it. Clothing is normally not an option when you're doing fire play, and I had to go back and forth with the Idaho State Police on what I could show and what I couldn't show, and I had to cut leather. I had to make sure that the leather covered nipples and areola, and it's the funny law in Idaho is you have to cover from the pubic mound um, to the above the crack of the butt, and so I'm cutting all this leather and measuring these girls and making sure we've got it right. And then, of course, I had to make sure it didn't come off during the show because you're using a lot of fuel and it's, gets the leather wet and this. I couldn't have it falling off. So I couldn't use it because I knew it would, like clothing tape. So I'm like, I'm experimenting with different glues and stuff to glue this stuff on. And I found there's something called barge, and they make this bar. It's a leather cement, and seeing that skin is leather, and I had to glue leather on. It's a leather to leather glue. They make it with something that's somewhat harmful or poisonous. I can't remember what the chemical was, and then they make one without. And like the people, the leather shop is going, well, the one without doesn't. It's not as strong a hold as the one with.
Of course not.
And I'm going with the one without. But it works fine. It works fine, but it's kind of a drag for the girls to get it off afterwards. Kind of like a very large band-aid they have to rip off.
Well,
So God forbid you get a hairy bastard like myself.
Yeah.
yeah, he's like a miniature Robin Williams, you know. Well, okay, when you do your fire shows, what kind of fuel are you actually using? Is it like an alcohol base?
I use three different fuels. I use on the bodies when we're doing fire on bodies. It's alcohol. When I spin poi around bodies. The poi spinning is white fuel. It's called white fuel or like Coleman's camp fuel, and clear lamp oil mixed. And then same thing for whip. I'll do a whip around people and fire whip. And then also we do fire fans, that's more of an artistic, elegant thing than some of the other stuff we do. Although the fire on the bodies is very artistic and elegant also, but probably not in some people's book. But in my
I thought it
book,
was cool.
so if anybody wants to check out my the site, we got a couple sites for the show. It's called one is freaksandfetish.com. That's freaks and an N in the middle of freaks and fetish. And then our other site is firepowerpassion.com. And you can go check out pictures and videos and the show, and it's a cool show. We really enjoy it. And our show that we're doing in April is called Cirque du Flamme. And
that's a
got,
great name.
Isn't that a great name? And it's got aerial dancers. So while we're doing fire, there's going to be aerial dancers and silks and lyra, which is the hoops, the aerial acrobatics and hoops, and other fire dancers and spinners. It's gonna be a really cool show. I need to videotape it. It's gonna be way cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. What like when you do these shows, do you I mean, the people that you have there, are these like people specially trained, or do you just pick them from the audience and say like, hey, who wants to feel?
Well, we do a lot of practicing. They are trained. They're people that I know can handle the fire and handle, because there's a lot of slapping and hitting and flogging, and so they're people that I know will work well under those circumstances. And we have a crew of fire safety people and assistants, and everybody's trained.
So there's no audience involved in this.
No, like there's not on this show. It's a little too dangerous for audience involvement.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
It probably gets pretty intense, so much so that if you did bring an audience member up, they'd be like, okay, what the hell's going on? And then, it happens, and then, fire everywhere.
Which reminds me, I mean, is this whole thing about like the safe word is actually true, or is that just another myth?
Absolutely true. Okay. Yeah, safe word is absolutely true. The standard safe words are yellow if it's too much and red to stop. That's kind of standard across the board. Some people use totally different words as long as they both understand the word, but safe word is an absolute. It is you just don't play without a safe word. There are people out there that play, it's called rack risk aware consensual kink, and they may do it without a safe word, but for the most part, everybody uses a safe word. Anybody that plays publicly uses a safe word, because you can't. I mean, you can't play without a safe word.
Do you find it more often than not that people actually use the safe word, or do they usually just?
If they need to, they do. Yeah.
Well, I would think that it would be a kind of common thing to happen, like kind of throughout. It's like, that might be a little too much or something like that. And if you really think about it, I mean, that the kind of stuff happens all the time with other types of fetishes, or just like a average Joe. That it's it's like, okay, that's that might be too much, but it should be pretty common, right?
It's very common. It is very common. It's not frowned upon to use it either. I mean, everybody, communication is very good about, if you need to use it, you use it. And as a dominant, or what's called a top, somebody who's doing the hitting or whatever, if you don't comply with it, then, it's a quick way to get shunned out of the community. So it works really well, the safe words.
So what do you recommend for somebody who's like, let's say, just starting, and like how to measure like how much they should press, or how to like keep the boundaries in check, and to see how much they can actually push and keep pushing that person that they're working with? Or
in almost any community where you've got probably 500,000 or more people, there's going to be a group that does classes on negotiation and like 101, BDSM 101 and negotiation. I highly recommend, if somebody's interested in doing this from either side, that they start there, because you'll learn the ins and outs of etiquette at a party, what protocols are. Etiquette is a general compliance with the rules of a party, and just kind of in general what you do and what you don't do. Like if somebody's in the middle of the scene, you don't interrupt them, you don't step in and go, oh, that's cool, what's that? That kind of stuff is not looked upon highly. and because it breaks the bond from the people doing the scene. And part of BDSM is that bond that's created and the energy that's created. So that's frowned upon. And then there's something called protocols, which are people specific. The people involved together have their own protocols. You have to learn their protocols so that you don't do something that's outside their protocols. I'll give you an example. When I've got a submissive who's wearing a collar or a slave who's collared, no dominant can talk to him without first getting my permission. They're not allowed to touch or hug a dominant unless they have the sub is not without my permission. So I have a very strict set of rules, and everybody's different, but there are just certain things that I do in my training to create that control. And so it just there's all kinds of things on that.
Right. So how many? I guess like it's kind of a stupid question. How many like chances do you give somebody before you like fucking boot him out and say like, you know what, this is not working. I can't work with you.
I normally don't get that involved with someone if I figure out I can't work with them because I have a pretty long communication process with someone. Like I'll send them all my information. We'll talk about it. We'll usually do a little bit of play together to make sure the energy's there, and then start training. And usually, if something's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong way down the road. I don't have many DS relationships where all of a sudden a month later I've gone, ooh, I really fucked up here, because my process of deciding who I'm going to train can take up to 6 months.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of slow. I wasn't when I was younger. I used to jump into them, and those never worked out. Those were always kind of because it was just too fast. And I just learned through time that there's, develop a set of procedures and a set of rules that work for you and the submissive, and stick to them strictly, and don't deviate. And then it works because a true submissive needs to know exactly how their life is going to go 24 hours a day. So if you have those rules set up and you have rituals set up that they do every day, their life they become very happy people. These are people that love that structure.
I never actually thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned something else when we were talking. I don't know if you would like mind sharing this, but I mean it's no hidden secret. You use hypnosis as well.
Yes.
Right. And you were telling me that you have a couple of people that you put suggestions on. Do you mind sharing those?
Oh yeah. I've got I will do sometimes with submissives. I'll put what are called triggers, and I will embed triggers into their unconscious that automatically create where they can come on command or just become, blubbering, ready to just whatever I want them to do sexually on command. And when you've gotten somebody to that point, when you've used that, what I call erotic hypnosis, and shown them how incredible it is, you can even get to the point where you can do it over text. Like I've got a couple girls that, I can text them a few sentences, they're done.
Wow.
Yeah. So
my other question
power.
But first hypnosis types, Robert, if you do that, you always have to remember when you're embedding anything or when you're concreting those triggers in, that, or cementing would be the actual phrase, not concrete, but I like mine a little tougher. So.
Yeah.
When you're embedding that stuff in, that this is really a big deal. You must embed that it won't work if they're driving or at work. Because if you accidentally start texting some stuff, or you say something on the phone to someone and they're driving, it's really important that everything you've embedded won't work in a car. I know hypnotists that have made that mistake.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a really dangerous mistake to make. Yeah.
So would you put one on Lonnie that every time I call him, he's just on his pants and stuff? I'm just kidding.
He keeps trying to do this stuff to me.
I'd be playing with that shit every fucking day though. Like it's.
I'm thinking about putting hypnosis in this show in April.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting somebody to where I can do an instantaneous induction. Because I mean, you can use that as a trigger. You can do an instantaneous induction as a trigger, to where like mine is where I'll tap them on the forehead and they automatically go to so fast asleep they're right on the floor. And
wow.
And so it's a cool little thing that you could use in the atmosphere. I was going to make that person be that when they open their eyes and they hear the audience cheering and clapping, that they realize they're cheering and clapping for them because they've just won Miss America.
Oh wow! They're just like clapping.
Yeah, and then my idea after that is turn around to the audience and say, okay, why don't we do a group hypnosis? Who here wants to be hypnotized? We'll do everybody that wants. So if you want to be hypnotized, close your eyes. If you don't want to be hypnotized, keep your eyes open. And just do the relaxing the eyelids kind of thing. You know, it's not like it would be a deep thing, but just embed. My thought is you embed in the entire audience that there's a part of the show where I set myself completely on fire. I mean, my clothes, my arms, I'm playing a guitar, it's all on fire. And embed in them that, you know, if you see a man on fire playing a flaming guitar, all of a sudden your entire body will get hot. That your most intense sensitive organs will become more intense. You'll become hot and excited and just have an unbearable need to just release because it's so. I mean, how fun would that be?
That'd be fucking amazing. I think.
I'm sure there'd be a few people in the audience that would work.
Can I just put this out there? Between the BDSM stuff and the shows that you do and the hypnosis, you're a powerful man.
I am a power. People meet me and they say, wow, you know, I can feel your power.
It's kind of intimidating.
It's a good thing that we're all like on the same side though. Like you're not. Yeah,
and where am I at?
You're gonna be the guinea pig.
Lonnie. Oh, okay.
Right.
But
well,
that was. Go ahead, Lonnie.
I do well, occasionally I do another podcast. It's actually a New England Patriots podcast, and some of the the people that listen to that know about this podcast, and they were asking some of these questions. One of them was when you go to a family member's house for get together or anything like that, do you get the how's your BDSM thing going?
Well, on my side of the family, I have, my daughter and a cousin, and everybody else is gone. So it's not hard on my side. I don't flaunt it to my daughter. I never did growing up. She never knew what I was doing. She has figured out stuff since she's an adult, but not by me talking openly about her. I don't believe in talking about this stuff openly with kids. They need to choose their own path. And I don't want to get in that path because nothing would freak me out more if I was in a BDSM club and my daughter walked in. That would be it for me. There are people that have their kids involved with this stuff. Like they hit 18, 19 years old and they're there with their kids. And it's like, ooh.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it's like, so for me, that ain't going to work.
That's when you draw the line.
Yeah. My cousin and I, we've been super, super good friends since little kids. And so, yeah, he knows about it. He just loves it. He thinks it's a blast. On my wife's side, they wouldn't take too kindly to know our lifestyle. So, we're a pretty white bread family to them.
Okay.
So They just know nothing, and it's better that way. I think she's got one brother that knows maybe a tiny bit, and he's cool with it, but it wouldn't work well with the rest of her family.
Okay.
I mean, you can always put an amnesia suggestion in there, right? Just forget about this shit.
Wait. Is that like the hypnosis version of the little flasher thing on Men in Black?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Basically.
Yeah.
That shit's real.
We don't need no stinking flasher.
Now I'm getting a little scared now, but okay. Zumi, have you ever done this to me before?
Done what?
You're such an asshole. Such an asshole. Which time?
How would you know?
Well, let me see.
Oh man, let's chase some fucking squirrels here. So so how do you feel about Trump?
I love Trump. I'm probably the only person in BDSM that loves Trump. They would probably all want to kill me if they knew that I
Well, see,
right.
You're more on my side, because I am at least, a big Trump supporter. Zumi's kind of on the fence for the most part, kind of wants to see what he does. Well, you say, like you.
Well, I want to see what he does too, but I did support him to get him in the White House, and I do think that he's got qualities, not in the finesse that Reagan had, but in the I'm going to get it done kind of thing. And I really like that he pivoted off of healthcare because I could see it was becoming a disaster quick. So it's probably better that he just pivoted off and went to taxes. A lot of people would have just stayed on it until they, destroyed the whole system. Let me see, Obama.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, is that there's been a lot of presidents, senators, congressmen that have had one, subject or one law or one bill or whatever that they focus on, and they fail and fail and fail, and they just keep going. It's like, dude, do your job. Just go do something.
Right. And so yeah, that squirrel. I'm a Trump supporter. I think he'll do things. I'm a small businessman also, and it's been miserable for me the last 8 years because we've been directly tied to the Dodd-Frank Act, and it has been murderous for us. It is, and it just got worse this year. It's just murderous. It's been, I had 8 years ago, I had a full head of brown hair, and now it's like a full head of gray hair.
I think it looks good. I think it looks good.
Yeah, the women seem to be cool with it. I'm good.
Hey, as long as there's that, then what else do you have to worry about?
That's right.
Yeah, when we opened this Pandora's box during our lunch, everybody was just like super quiet. I could just feel the tension of like the whole Trump thing, and I'm like what? Like I'm Mexican. I support him. Well, support him and air quotes. I'm gonna kiss. Like I said, I'm still waiting to see what he does, but I really don't mind him because I think I mentioned this. How is it fair for anybody else that's done the stuff legally, versus somebody who just came here in non-legal status, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, give me the free stuff.
Right.
And I think I shared this with you, Jack, that like all of a sudden, like a bunch of ladies came about from Harvard and Yale saying like, or graduating with honors, and all of a sudden saying like, oh, by the way, I'm an illegal immigrant. And I'm like, motherfucker, where's my free Harvard education,
Right.
Like,
you got to be a criminal first.
Yeah, I guess. Like, I'm in debt with just a bachelor's degree that I'm probably never going to use. And you have a free fucking Harvard education? Fuck you.
Right. And according to the left, it's not criminal to illegally cross our border. It's only criminal to, well, it depends. A lot of the left doesn't even believe it's criminal to, murder in America and be here illegally. I've just heard some awfully strange statements in the last few years.
Now, we always say that it's not a political podcast. We always get to it because it's just what we do. I mean,
'Cause
we
it's
are
fun.
we are the
Fun to hear
nothing
Steve
better
talk
to
about
listen
it.
to podcast, but it. I mean, I love how we always get to this, but the the one thing that like I think it was just last episode we were talking about this, wasn't it? And we did a short episode last week, and we were talking about those. I can't remember the country. I should totally look this up, but there's some. I think it might be Iran that has this camp that can house like 1.5 million or 2 million people, and it's completely empty. And it has air conditioning and chow halls and all of these things, and the reason it's empty is because they're not going there. The refugees are not going there. They're coming here. And you kind of have to ask yourself
'Cause they
why.
get paid to come here.
Yeah,
I just recently found out that we pay refugees like $33,000 to come here.
yeah, it's
You
ridiculous.
got to be kidding me! It's no wonder I can't run my business.
Yeah, and it's I.
Paying for free flights and housing.
Yep, yeah, it gets pretty ridiculous. I mean, Zumi and I have gone on rants before. It's infuriating for someone who builds up their career or goes to school on their own dime or goes into the military like we did to get some good college money, and then you just have somebody come in and government's like, here, like,
Yeah.
well, this person isn't even required to make a commitment to say like, yes, I'm going to be an American, I'm going to assimilate. You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I happen to be with you. So you're singing to the choir.
Oh, I'm sure. But I honestly think that's why our numbers end up not being 5,000. It's
Yeah, well,
because I'm such a bad conservative.
yeah, yeah. But Zumi is right, man. We started a political conversation at lunch, and that was it. I mean,
Everybody just went quiet.
Well,
it's just too bad that people are so afraid of having a political discussion anymore. Because I will listen to the other side and say, good point. I don't agree with it at all, but good point, from your side, if that's what you believe in. I don't believe in that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the oh my God, the vitriolic. I've got a friend who owns a club, a BDSM club, and I mean, she's a writer, and she gets on and just, I thought she about had, I think, 10 orgasms yesterday when the Trump healthcare bill went down. It's like ranting about we won, we defeated. It's like, you won what? I mean, you've got this healthcare plan that's gonna blow up under its own weight, and most of the country is paying exorbitant amounts for it, and with these huge deductibles, they can't afford the deductibles. And what did you win? Keeping in a bad plan?
Exactly. This is my point with the the far leftists is anything that Trump's doing, you're going to be against, even if it's something that's good for this country.
Well, that's not true. They're for impeachment.
Yeah, but it and they tend to forget that there was a recent president that was impeached, and it wasn't that long ago that we had a president that lied to the entire country about a personal issue and got impeached. A lot of people forget about that, about Bill Clinton,
Oh, Bill.
We miss Bill, at least not the person, but the stories that came out of that place, when Bill was in.
Colorful.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jack? I think Bill was actually wearing the blue dress. I don't think it was the other way around.
Could have been.
Could have been. I think.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me.
That would make that story even more epic,
I'm pretty sure Hillary could kick my ass because her balls are bigger than mine. So, just saying.
Oh my God, you guys are terrible.
We are very terrible people, but we enjoy the hell out of it.
Oh man.
Well, pulling away from some of those questions just for a second, I'm gonna ask you, what's your favorite dinosaur?
What the fuck?
This is a serious question.
I am going with T-Rex.
I like this guy. Carnivore, meat eater.
Meat eater, powerful. I like power, buddy.
Scary.
I would have
T-Rex.
I would have lost a lot of respect for it. It would have come as like, well, I'm probably a vegan, so
Stegosaurus.
a vegan dinosaur. So I want to be a stegosaurus.
There's nothing wrong with the Stegosaurus.
Except that it's vegan, I guess.
Yeah, but that tail, man, it kicks ass. You can't knock on the Stegosaurus.
But there's no power in a Stegosaurus.
No.
It's kind of like a turtle with a badass tail.
Yeah, or
you look
tortoise.
At Stegosaurus, and the first word that comes to your mind is not, that is pure power.
that is true.
Yeah. Or
you look at a T-Rex and you go, holy fuck, that.
Yeah, the flight or flight response kicks in. You shit your pants so you can run faster. Yeah. I'm sorry. I know I pulled away a little bit, but I just had to ask.
And I like power and everything. I own classic Mustangs. So I'm a big power guy.
Oh,
power
see.
Power
control. What kind of Mustang do you have?
I've got a 1969 428 Cobra Jets. And I've got a 72 351 Ram Air, Q code 351 Ram Air Mach 1. And I have got a personally signed Jack Roush 2013 S Series 3 convertible.
I'm so jealous.
Personally signed.
Yeah, Jack Roush signs 2 cars a year. Car that goes to the LA Auto Show and the New York Auto Show. And I've got the one that was at the New York Auto Show in 2013. It's a black on black on black.
Oh, you gotta show me a picture of this car.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
cool.
Beautiful cars. Beautiful.
Yeah. It was right before they did kind of the sleeker, elongated nose in 2015, 16.
I think I call it Viagra on wheels. Yeah, just beautiful vehicles. You wouldn't understand, Sumi. You're into the tuners, right?
Oh, whatever, dude.
You're into that Fast and the Furious generation.
Sure.
Hey, they had some nice cars in those movies.
Just because I drive a Honda does not make me like a Fast and the Furious fan,
Well, I can't say anything. I did drive a Prius at one time.
Yeah, vagina with wheels.
Man, I don't know how you talking about Meat Eater and Prius in the same sentence.
Exactly.
I know.
So Jack, I'm gonna go back to your world. Like as far as like working with people, do you just like strictly female, or have you ever had like males that you like train to be like?
I'm strictly female. I am a heterosexual male dominant that trains hetero or bisexual female submissives.
All right, so
everybody's got their own thing. That's just mine.
It works.
I mean, I get it.
Works for me.
And do you ever have like when you do this and stuff, do you ever have any of them like, I don't know, transform into like fucking stalkers or something like that? Where you're
Never
just
have.
like,
Never
just
have.
like, okay, we're done.
I've
Like
never had a really bad experience like that. I might have a drama queen every once in a while. I mean, I can think of one that just kind of creates a little bit of drama around the community and stuff, but nothing big.
At that point, do you just cut ties, or do you just
Yeah.
That's amazing. Your world is fascinating. I mean, the thing that I like the most is that you're showing me like that there's so much more than just this, like the way that Hollywood is put out this type of lifestyle. I mean, I never knew that there was like actual like therapeutic value to some of this, and I never knew that like there was all of this stuff that you have to do to ensure that it's a good, safe place, and that people are comfortable, and that kind of makes it cool for me. That's it's a good understanding experience.
People that do it right, they take a lot of pride and education, in doing what they do. And you always have those that sneak into the community that end up being something that they're not. But it's for the most part, especially if you get to know people in public places, it's just a lot safer. You get to know who's cool and who's not. But I've been very lucky. I haven't had any kind of bad thing happen.
Well, that's I think you're going to get that in any type of scenario that you're in, no matter what
Sure.
your preferences are or what type of people you hang around. You're always going to get somebody.
That's right.
So
right.
Might as well do it, or find those people and do it while you're enjoying what you're doing, and instead of just faking or pretending that you like something, you might as well do what you want to do and learn from those experiences. So
You bet.
How now I'm wondering like how many like military members are like into this kind of stuff,
Oh, a lot. A lot.
like really?
Yeah.
Like
Military, police. Yeah, there's
police.
A pretty big. Yeah, you carry around handcuffs all day, man. You gotta like those things.
You might accidentally take the fuzzy one with you to work.
I'm not using fuzzy handcuffs. I only use the real ones.
I just got like a fucked up idea. So you're telling me that because they like handcuffs and most of the people that they arrest are either Mexican or black, then they kind of have that kind of fever too.
Yeah,
oh, you're Mexican. I'm handcuffing the shit out of you.
That's kind of long stretch there.
So a lot of cops are going to suffer when they kick us out of the U.S. and send us across the wall.
Yeah, I don't think too many legal aliens are going anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's messed up.
Well, do we have anything else to talk about with the shows, Zumi?
With the shows?
Yes.
I don't know.
Because I wanted to ask about knives.
Okay. Yeah.
Love knives.
Okay. How many times have you been hurt?
With knives?
Yes. Never.
Never. I've never been hurt, and I've never hurt anybody.
That's awesome.
I mean, I have drawn blood on myself a couple times where I just kind of nicked myself with a knife myself. Yeah. I have never drawn blood with who I'm working with.
Now, when you do knife work,
it's not about cutting.
Yeah.
There is a whole new fetish. There's a whole other fetish called cutting, where people are actually doing cutting. But what I like is I find knives very erotic, very sensual and erotic, and there are some really cool things you can do with knives and just the different edges and different kinds of scraping and the points and there's just a lot. It's a very sensual and erotic kind of play.
So it's not like you're fucking juggling shit and throwing it at people.
Fuck no.
When you said knife work, I thought like magician shit, like throwing knives at each other. I'm like, that's a little dangerous, dude.
It's a lot of touching of the body and knives in really inappropriate places.
Ooh.
It's very, very sensual and very erotic. Everybody does knife play a little differently, but I really like the erotic aspect of it.
Okay. Well, that was what I had a question about is like, what it was actually entailing because, I've only seen pictures on your site, and I mean, I have to say some of that stuff is impressive just from looking at pictures, and I know that you're, was it coming to the knitting factory here pretty soon?
Knitting factory in Boise is where we do the show.
Okay, because I think they had one. I don't know if they still have it out here in Spokane.
They do. They have a knitting factory.
Okay.
Spokane, yeah.
I should know this. I mean, I live here, but I
Yeah,
guess
they've
I'm
got
just
one.
not as hip.
They've got one in Boise and Spokane and LA and New York. They've got like 6 concert clubs around. And then they have a bunch of other clubs too.
Okay. Is it hard to find clubs? I mean, like, do you like? Because I know that it's difficult for like comedians to find a place to get a gig, or for people that are just maybe even like just a band. I know that it's difficult just to find a place to do your stuff. Do you find it difficult because of the things that you're doing in your shows to find places?
I have a couple of clubs that I work with. Knitting Factory in Boise and club down in Florida, Tampa, Florida. And I produce the show and I'm the promoter of the show, so I come in and use the facility. But just the first time it took quite a bit of convincing for the Knitting Factory to agree to it. Once they saw the show and saw how cool it was and the potential of it, they were more than happy to have me back.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we do 2-3 shows a year there.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, it's like, man, there's fire and knives and stuff like that. That's got to be, a little bit
we
difficult
were
sometimes.
we're the first people to ever have fire inside of a Knitting Factory club in 24 years of business. We're the
Awesome.
first people ever allowed in with fire, and they've been asked plenty of times.
You're like the pioneer.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I don't
cool.
imagine they're going to be going to number 2, after us.
Yeah.
The fire department likes us a lot, and so we worked very hard to make it very safe and very professional, and went to a lot of expense to button everything up. So yeah, I don't think there'll be a number 2. It's I don't think that the Knitting Factory, because they're a major corporation, they don't want the liability.
Yeah.
So other than that, I don't suspect that every other person that spits fire or does whatever can go in there and say, well, they're doing it, so are we. I mean, the answer is going to be yeah. So bye.
Right.
It takes a lot to do fire indoors. Fire departments don't like it. Clubs don't like it. They fear it. Look at what happened with Great White in that club in
Yes.
Rhode Island.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Everything changed after that. So it's you got to be very careful with it.
Yeah.
And we have pyrotechnics in the show too. So we've got blasts and got shower curtains of sparkler curtains down, and we got some cool pyro stuff.
Wow. I mean, it's when you're telling me all the stuff that's going on in the show. I mean, there's got to be a lot of permitting. There's got to be a lot of training. Like you say, you train all the women and or the people that are in the show and part of the show, like the crew. I mean, that to me, it just sounds like. I mean, I'm so used to like hearing bands talk about like how they got to put in work and stuff, but that. I mean, the fire aspect and the knives and everything that goes along with that. I'm just thinking there's so much.
You're hurting cats. Nobody. Most of these people are doing it out of their passion.
Yeah.
It's not like they're making enough to make it count. So it's and our cast is 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Our cast is 15.
Wow.
So yeah, so you're talking about 15 people who more or less are doing this because of the passion and being around the fire and being around kind of the fun of it.
That's cool.
And all 15 are participating at the same time, I'm assuming.
Well, one is my sound light pyro person, and then we have a couple of assistants that help us.
Or how many on stage at one time?
There are 13 on stage.
Wow.
13 on stage. That's still, I mean,
that's a performance. I mean, that's a job in itself, to get everybody coordinated and everything, and then you add fire,
Right.
And
right.
And how long is it a typical show?
About an hour and 45 minutes. This
Holy shit.
Our portion is an hour and 45. The name of the show, like I said earlier, is Cirque du Flamme, and the whole show is about 2 hours 30 minutes.
Very cool. Hey,
Yeah,
so you're not giving
we're in-
people a tiny bit. You're giving them a nice
Oh, yeah,
chunk of entertainment.
it's a full show. Yeah, yeah. It's like, it's like a mini Vegas show.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't
I
have
don't
the
know if I
30
call it
million.
mini though.
And then, yeah, too. That's
Well, it is because in Vegas they spend friggin' millions on these theaters that shows are in, and we don't.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
but the quality is better than the quantity. The
yeah,
I mean,
quality's definitely good.
yeah. I don't care about how great a Coke can is. If that drink is good, then it's good.
That's right.
Oh, sorry about the
awkward
pause.
silence.
It happens. This right
Pregnant
here,
pause.
this is what
Yeah.
editing is for. So
That's
you
right.
pause as long as you want.
That's pretty funny. But what else did we have on the set list, Lonnie?
Well, I do have some more odd questions. I mean, we can always skip those, but they're fun, And the more serious one I would say is, who is your favorite Spice Girl?
What the fuck?
Definitely Ginger.
I like this guy.
The ginger kind of guy?
Yeah. Okay, and then the next question I have, why does Barney the dinosaur suck?
Because he has a mouth.
oh my gosh.
I hope you're not going like, what the fuck did I do agreeing with this asshole to be in this fucking podcast?
This is what I do. Zumi's the director. I'm the horrible producer.
Just fucking turn south.
No, I do want to ask you, like what your upcoming events are and the website and your contact info, so people can actually find you and start following and go to these shows. Because I got to tell you, the people that are listening, go to this website. The what is it? The firepowerpassion.net. And
It's firepowerpassion.net or .com. I've got both of them. So that's one, the Firepower Passion. Not the, but it's Firepower Passion. The other one, which is show specific, is Freaks and Fetish. And that's spelled Freaks, the letter N, and then fetish.com.
and
And that's got all the Cirque du Flame show stuff on it.
okay. And the pictures are amazing. I just got to say, like, I was looking through it, and I had messaged you, and I go, "Oh my word!" Like, this is incredible. Because
you should have seen him, Jack. Like I told him, like, hey, I finally got our first guest, and he's like, well, tell me about it. And I'm like, I'll tell you later. And all of a sudden, I'm like building it up, and it's like it involves a realm that there's a lot of taboo around it. But it's like I guarantee you, it's like nothing what you imagine.
oh yeah, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, but
he's like,
so
what
those
was it? What was it?
websites, and people can either contact me if they join FetLife.com. My address, my handle is Volpine. It's VULPINE, Dragon Jag, all one word.
Okay.
Volpine Dragon Jag. Can also email me at firepowerpassion@gmail.com.
Okay. And do you? I think you have at least I hope this is what I've done. Is you have your Twitter account?
I have a Twitter account, and I am so not into Twitter. I'm not a Trumpian Twitterer.
Don't feel bad.
We're the same.
Because we do advertising on Facebook, I had to at least learn how to use my Facebook account and start adding people so I could share crap. I still don't understand how to do it. I'm the worst, man. I'm just not a social media guy. I like, if I can't hit you with leather or have a knife against your hand or have control of you, it just ain't worth it.
Makes sense.
This social media thing just doesn't give me that.
I get it. Yeah. We've often said that we just need to get ourselves a social media manager and be like, you know what, you take care of that, because
Yeah, no kidding.
it's just a pain in the ass. But well, yeah, I mean, To me, I feel like you are the perfect first guest we could ever have for this show. I mean, because we're kind of an odd show. We're, the Nothing Better to Listen to podcast. We're like I've told Zumi, I feel like we're the Seinfeld of podcasts. It's a show about nothing, so we can
Very
talk
cool.
about whatever the hell we want to. And to have you as our first guest puts a smile on my face. You're
Well, I'm
perfect.
certainly honored. And I hope people, if they can be in the Boise area around April 14th, which, by the way, is Easter weekend, and the name of the ball is the Freaks and Fetish Resurrection Ball. We
Appropriate.
also have a costume contest. If you come dressed in religious or pirate or zombie garb, you can be in the
Pirate or zombie?
Yeah. Our host is Captain Jack.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that makes sense.
So, we've got a little pirate flavor in our little Cirque du Flamme thing too.
See, the more you talk, the more interesting all this stuff sounds.
Oh, it's such a fascinating show.
I guess the other question is, do you guys serve alcohol?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go, people.
Yes.
There's no other reason not to go.
I know it's I know it's kind of like an obvious question, but then last thing you want to know is go there and it's like all you have is Kool-Aid and you're like,
And we're looking for a sellout on this show.
Oh, I think you might get one now. I'm not trying to brag, but
No, we're gonna share this with everybody.
Listeners' ears.
Yeah. Well, I think that might.
Hey, let me tell you prices. Ticket prices are $19.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, perfect.
General admission $19.50. VIP is $39.50. It comes with a really cool laminate that you get, and you get upstairs seating. Which by the show, watching the fire show from upstairs is even cooler than being down on the ground floor and looking up at it, because you can see all the bodies and all the fire going everywhere on the bodies.
That's what I'm talking about.
And yeah, it's very cool. And see, you can get them at knittingfactory.com.
Okay, knittingfactory.com.
Yeah, so you have no fucking excuse. It's $20 or $40 for the upgrade, correct?
That's not bad.
That's pretty good for a fucking amazing show. So,
Yep.
Go buy their fucking tickets now.
This was a special edition of the Nothing Better to Listen to podcast, as it was our first podcast with our very first guest.
Cherry popped.
You can find Sir Jag and his performances at his website on firepowerpassion.net or .com. You can also find him on Twitter, which he barely uses, is what he told us, at fire_power_p. You can also find him in his preferred social media, which is on Facebook, and just type in Firepower Passion and you'll probably find him. And of course, you can always email him at firepowerpassion@gmail.com. Sir Jag is going to be performing, I think it's on April 14th is what he said. Let's
April
take
14th.
a look real quick to make sure.
It's April 14th.
Okay, so April 14th at the Knitting Factory in Boise, Idaho. And now
Yeah,
we'll just
tickets
go ahead and
are-
do our outro.
Tickets are $20 or $19.95 and then $39.95 for the VIP ones.
Which is an awesome deal.
Yeah, it's only dude, $40. Man, like and they serve alcohol. You get to see some fucking fire show, 2.5 hours, or if I recall correctly, Lonnie.
Yep, 2.5 hours.
So yeah, guys, like go check it out. It's a whole fucking new world out there.
I'm so sheltered, I found out after this show.
What do you mean?
I had no idea that's what that whole world was like.
Yeah, me neither, dude.
It's a lot more structured.
Like I said, when I was talking to him, I was like holy shit, let's talk. Like I have like a lot of questions about this. So
Yes.
and like I said,
It's a good guess.
Yeah, it fits our like our style of show podcasting.
Well, it was certainly fun as our first guest.
So yeah, so now you can't say that I'm a fucking liar anymore. It's like I got you the first guess, and
Does that make us a real podcast?
I guess it does. It took us a while, but you know, we're getting there. Next thing, like I said, websites coming up soon.
We promise.
Yeah.
We promise.
So just bear with me. Just give me at least one more week, and I'll have it ready, up and ready. At least we'll be able to say like, oh hey, we got something dot blah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll go ahead and do the outro, and we could say goodnight to these good folks that are listening.
All right.
Are you ready?
Just remember, every time after the outro, I just go on another squirrel, so don't miss out. Keep listening.
All right. Well, this episode of the Nothing Better to Listen to podcast can be downloaded on iTunes, Google Play, or directly from shoutengine.com. Be sure to leave us a review if you enjoyed the episode, or if you're pissed off about anything that we might have said, even if we don't care.
You cunt.
Our bumper music is provided by bensound.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at NBTLT Podcast. Send us all of your emails with your questions, comments, rants, and anything else that you might want to say at nbtltpodcast@gmail.com. And once again, even though nobody's going there, we hope that some of you will. We have a Reddit home. It is reddit.com/r/nbtlt. And I will know if you're there or not. Either way.
So you know what? I forgot to ask Jack about like what type of ropes should like be on your starter kit. Like what would be like the ideal starter kit for somebody who's
You mean the BDSM starter kit?
Yeah.
Like okay.
What kind
gotta
of
have him back on. Call him.
like what kind of whip? Like what the material? Because like, guess there's like a fucking asshole's gonna go out there and just buy like an extension cable, or get like an extension cord or whatever and use that as a whip, and that's not.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Yeah. So.
I'm sure that he might take questions.
Yeah. Well, next time we have him, we should ask him that kind. Build me a starter kit. That would be amazing.
Well, there you go. That'll be our first question. If I need a starter kit, what's in this starter kit?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
what brand? Like what quality? Like how much is this gonna cost me?
No neoprene.
All right, fuckers. That's all we have for tonight.
Yes, it is. We'll talk to you next week.
Hope you enjoyed it. Or how was it? Hope it was good for you as it was for me.
It's good for me.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Night.